All right, go live, go live. Cool. Welcome, welcome. Let's just let people trickle in, give people a moment to join on. We are live. We're so excited to be here. Again, we're talking about all things email lists, newsletters, building your audience. We're having a great start to our Own Your Audience challenge. It's been amazing. This week we are talking about growing your list. If you missed last week, go back and watch that live. We talked about starting your list, all the tools, all the little tips you need to get your email list started. We also have a resource which I'll drop in the chat too. If you have never started an email list and you want to start, we literally handhold you through the process, step by step, how you can start an email list, everything you need, and teaching you how to create the content, all of those things in there. And I'll drop that in, but we're going to get started here. This is week 2 of Own Your Audience Challenge. We're going to be talking about tips to grow and promote your audience. So we're going to get started here. Okay, how about we talk about one of the most important steps in crafting your newsletter, which is growing your list. And what are your tips, Amanda, for promoting your email list or your newsletter?
Yeah, great question. Thanks, Erin. Thanks for the intro and happy Friday, everybody. Hope everybody's having a great week. So growing your email list is one of the more maybe intimidating things about, mental hurdles maybe to like starting a newsletter. Like you can totally psych yourself out. I have Friday brain, which is similar to Monday brain, but way worse. Psych yourself out and tell yourself you should not start a newsletter because no one is going to join it. And that is simply not true. If you have any kind of following online and you know what you're talking about on some level, we can teach you how to grow your newsletter and find people who will gather around you, support you, love it, read it every week or every other week or whenever you send it out. But most folks have some level of social media following, whether it's a couple hundred followers on LinkedIn, all the way to hundreds of thousands or even millions on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube subscribers, whatever the case may be. Pretty much all of us have some level of online presence at some level. So this Own Your Audience challenge that Erin has linked up in the comments here will teach you again how to start a newsletter, literally create a free account on ConvertKit. We help you come up with a value proposition, which I think we're going to talk more about today, and just kind of the nuts and bolts, but also where to get ideas for your newsletter. But again, it's like, if a newsletter is sent out and nobody reads it, did it even get sent, right? The whole thing about like a tree falling in the forest, does it even make a sound? That sucks to write to nobody, or at least it may feel that way, but it's okay to start small. It's okay to start with friends and family and like ask your mom, dad, brother, dog, hamster, whatever, to like sign up and read your newsletter. And in a way that's a little bit safer for your first couple editions. Like you can get some nice feedback from people who love you, who are warm connections. Obviously you want a couple of colleagues and friends and peers on there as well. But again, the key is to just start, and then we will teach you every step of the way from there. So some newsletter growth strategies that we use at Level Up Creators and that are widely used and that we obviously have helped our clients with. There's 2 ways on to a newsletter typically. So one is straight to sign up for the newsletter. And that's what we're teaching you to do in this Own Your Audience challenge, because it is the simplest thing. And that makes the hook or value proposition that you are putting out into the world, the promise that you're making that your newsletter will deliver upon, that makes that very, very important. The other way that someone can get into your newsletter list is by signing up for one of your lead magnets, right? And so lead magnets are a free digital download or asset, typically, that you give out in exchange for someone's email address. And when you have their email address, they get whatever you promised, and probably, hopefully, some kind of a couple of like nurture sequences that lead them to a product for purchase, or just kind of like keeping the lead warm. And then that also automatically should dump them onto your master contact list, if you will, to receive your newsletter, unless they have specified otherwise, right? Obviously, you have to follow all the compliance rules and everything like that for email deliverability. So there's two ways in. At Level Up, we've got about a half a dozen lead magnets at least. And so those are all quite different on different topics. And we put those in front of the most relevant audience for who would enjoy those free assets the most, right? And then we have nurture sequences that help lead people to Level Up Creator School or our consulting service. And then over here, again, we have our newsletter. So 2 ways in. You definitely want to promote your newsletter on social media. And one strategy that I really like, I can't remember who originated this strategy. I think I learned it from Justin Welch, maybe. Maybe it's Sahil Bloom. Somebody amazing that has a massive email list and very popular newsletter. But their strategy was to post about like just the day before the newsletter goes out, whatever you want to call it, and like a teaser, basically like, hey, you're not gonna want to miss this. Sign up for my list. Here it is. And then they would post the day that the newsletter drops, and like maybe here's 3 key takeaways. Again, with the CTA call to action, sign up here, don't miss it. And then the day afterwards with, maybe a little bit of feedback that creator had gotten or another little nugget. And then they're also using the content that they published in their newsletter to be repurposed and used, to make other social media posts, right? And so there's like regular promotion points that you should have kind of just in your monthly and weekly content strategy. You always want to have your newsletter available for sign up on any channel that you're on, right? So that should be all of your social media, link in bios. That should be featured on your LinkedIn account section. That should be on your website at probably the footer or the header in the top right, and probably a pop-up offer as well. Let's see. Wherever you are on the internet, podcast. So show note descriptions, YouTube video descriptions, anywhere you are, you want to make sure that you have your newsletter sign up ready. And if you have a lead magnet or lead magnets as is relevant, you want to make sure you're linking up those assets as well. So people should have as many entry points to your newsletter as they have access to you online, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's really great. Yeah, I was reading about Justin Welch in his like pre-send out like CTA where he like does the teaser, and then the post one where he like gives people this level of like FOMO, like you just missed the greatest piece of content I've ever put out. And so he like hits it on both ends and gets people to subscribe both ways. So he's like the master at, I think, growing his email list. Okay, so content for growth. Can you share with me some of your personal favorite tips and creative ideas to create engaging content that connects with your audience and encourages them to sign up for your newsletter or email list?
Yeah, definitely. And we hit on this a little bit in the last live if you want to go back and watch, but I'll give kind of just a quick overview. So in order to come up with the right hook or right idea or promise or value proposition, again, whatever words you want to put to it, for your newsletter, you want to really study your content on social media, what has done well, what has not done well. You want to study ecosystem partner content. So those are non-competitors who are reaching the same customer persona as you. And then you also want to look at competitor accounts to see what type of content did well and not so well for them. Same thing, look at YouTube videos. You can look at Google search results, YouTube search results for anything sort of in your ecosystem, your sphere of influence, and whatever the topic your social media accounts are built around. And so would very, very heavily encourage you to make a research-backed decision, to make the best decision you can with the information you have straight out of the gate. But that's kind of the best that you can do, right? I mean, that's the best that any of us can do with any decision whatsoever at any point, is make the best decision you can with the information you have at the time. So go forward with a well-researched best guess. You can also totally ask your audience, like post a poll on LinkedIn or Instagram or wherever you are. Hey, I'm dropping a newsletter, or I'm starting a newsletter. Would you prefer topic 1, 2, or 3? So you can get a little bit of feedback and engagement that way. And that also creates a little bit of buy-in, which is cool. People will feel like they're part of the newsletter if they were part of that decision-making process, which is really important. So that's how I would probably think about how to come up with the right topic to start with. But moving forward, you should be testing and iterating, reviewing results and making adjustments. I mean, forever. That's really like what running an entire business is starting with your first and best guess. It should be well-researched. You put something out there and then see the results, either getting qualitative feedback, people literally messaging you or emailing you or talking to you on Zoom or the phone and letting you know what they think. And then on the quantitative side, like things that can actually be definitively counted, people are letting you know if they are signing up. And then if they're signed up, if they're opening the emails, and then if they're clicking through on any links that are within your actual newsletter. So you're able to gather lots and lots of data as time goes. And you're probably not going to nail it the first try, and that is totally okay. Pretty much nobody does. Again, no such thing as an overnight success. Even the greats who have, hundreds of thousands and millions of followers, they did not get there overnight. There's so much work going on the back end of that no one else is privy to, that we don't see. It seems like on our end, they just like pop up and all of a sudden these people are everywhere, but you don't see like the 3 years of work, grinding out like 14 hours a day to get there. So test, iterate, start with your best guess. And then I do want to add real quick, getting your newsletter started, definitely do what I said a couple of minutes ago, but like, do we want to talk about growth strategies now, Erin, in terms of like a little bit more in depth, or come back to that later?
I mean, we can talk about it now.
Okay, cool. So you want to try, and if you're doing like paid acquisition in particular, meaning you are paying to get people onto your email list, you're going to want to spend as little as possible in order to get enough information to know what to do next. So if you're starting with Meta ads or TikTok ads, for instance, on Meta, you can start with $300. On TikTok, their minimum is $200. And so you can put your newsletter with your value proposition there, and probably like a reel, basically a video of you talking about what the newsletter is and the value proposition. Again, very quickly, get to the point. And that's a great paid acquisition channel potentially, but you always want to test and iterate, right? What we have found at Level Up Creators to be very successful for us is sponsoring other people's newsletters, right? So newsletter ad placements, newsletter takeovers, where we will like write a series of articles for someone else's audience. Again, those are ecosystem partners. So folks with non-competing but tangentially related businesses who have gathered the same audiences would be interested in our stuff. But again, they're not competing because obviously a competitor would not let us advertise in their newsletter smartly. And so, it's like the best way to find podcast listeners for your podcast is to advertise on other podcasts, right? Because people are already listening. You're not having to overcome that hurdle as well, right? You're already getting people who are used to being on that kind of platform. So same principle for newsletters, right? And so advertising in other people's newsletters, paying to do that. Through ConvertKit, they make this super easy to both place ads, like sponsored ads within someone else's newsletter. They also have what's called free recommendations and paid recommendations. And so free recommendations is basically like you can partner up with ecosystem people who are kind of on equal footing as you and trade leads, basically back and forth. Like I'll scratch my back, you scratch whatever that saying is, do each other a favor. that was going to go a bad way. What is it? You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. That's where we're going. Okay. So that's like free, and you're just, kind of trading favors. And then there's paid recommendations. And so basically you can bid and say, I'll pay $3 per newsletter sign up. And then you can approve other people to recommend your newsletter to their audience. And then you pay that other creator, again, like $3, for instance, per human that they send to your newsletter. So those have been really, really good strategies for us. And it's also a cool way for creators to make money. And ConvertKit's really big on like putting money in creators' pockets as directly and often as they can. So that, some kind of paid spend combined with, leveraging existing channels, like having that newsletter follow you all over the internet, wherever you are. That's a good like 1-2 punch. And then we should probably do a whole session on like paid acquisition stuff.
Yeah. That's true. There's so much you can go into that, like detail wise, and just the tips and the different like things that work for paid versus organic are so different. So yeah, we probably should do a whole segment on just that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked a little bit about building your list. Tell me, what are your tips for keeping people engaged after they've joined?
Yeah. So if you have a value proposition that was enticing enough to get someone to sign up, which they are like it is if they sign up for your email list, like that's the first data point they're telling you that like, yes. And you want to look at the conversion rate of the number of people who visit the landing page where people can, or the form where people can sign up, to the percentage that actually do sign up. And that will give you a lot of information as well about your value proposition. ConvertKit does provide those very simple conversion rates in terms of like page traffic to they filled out the form and hit submit. So that's really important data point. But once you got them, obviously you have to continue to earn that real estate in their inbox, because people have freedom in that, and they can unsubscribe, just like they can unfollow, right? They can say, no, thanks. This isn't my vibe anymore. So you want to make good on your promise. I mean, that's the biggest thing in any marketing. We talk about this a lot with our clients and in Level Up Creator School about what you are saying in your marketing and sales messaging has to match what you're delivering. People are going to drop off so quickly. And especially we're so big on recurring revenue products. And just like a newsletter most of the time is free. A paid newsletter can be a great recurring revenue product. But if you miss the mark on what your advertising says that you do and what you actually deliver in your membership community, your mastermind or small group coaching program, people are going to peace out so fast. And that is so unbelievably frustrating. So take that same principle to your free newsletter and deliver the exact content that you said you were going to deliver, period. So how to keep people engaged. That's like rule number one. If you miss that, you're going to miss everything else. So like if you only take away one thing here in terms of newsletter subscriber retention, it's that. Make sure whatever your promise or your value proposition is matches the content. So that's thing number one. In terms of engagement, stay on latest trends or whatever, again, is relevant to your value proposition, but whatever is most likely to be most interesting to those who have subscribed. I mean, the cool thing about being a creator, solopreneur, online business owner, or coach is you know your people better than anybody. And so you're in the best position to give them the most valuable content. And so I would make your content exclusive. That's a big deal. And so if you're posting like the exact same content as is in your newsletter on social media, you're kind of maybe inadvertently creating a disincentive for people to sign up because they're like, do I really want to get another email every week or every other week? Or maybe I'll just see occasionally what they say in my Instagram feed. And so you want to make sure that exclusivity is very much taken into account. So that's a big thing. And again, just testing and iterating, ask. You can do polls within newsletters as well, really, really easily. You can run contests. You can ask for feedback. Let's talk about that for a minute. At the end of each of your newsletters, you should definitely have like what does ConvertKit call it? A section or
snippet?
A snippet. A snippet at the bottom that's just like there all the time. So you just set it up once and leave it. But come up with a question that is really compelling and such that it incites your subscribers to action. You want them to reply to that email and answer the question. And that should be something around, what are you struggling with the most? What content are you most interested in right now? What could I write about that would be most helpful? You're just getting to get them to reply. So whatever, and give you an idea for your newsletter content. And so that will kind of create like a self-perpetuating flywheel, especially if with permission, you are answering someone's question in the newsletter, or you can just use their first name probably without permission. But, hey, I'm answering Michelle's question that she submitted after last week's newsletter. And so like you're letting people know that do subscribe to your newsletter that like you're taking that seriously and you are reading all the feedback and you are responding to it on an individual basis. And so I think that's a very interesting engagement element because that makes people feel special, like especially the person whose question or subject matter you are addressing. But it also it sort of subliminally tells your other email subscribers and readers that like this person actually cares. They're actually listening. So they will sort of like by proxy feel heard, which is very interesting. But again, looking at your open rates and unsubscribe rates, really, really, really important to let you know if you are creating engaging content or not, and which direction those are trending, right? Like don't look at a snapshot and be like, oh, I'm doing great, or oh crap, I got to do something different. But you're looking for trends over time to make decisions.
Yeah, that's really awesome. Okay, chat. It's your chance to ask any questions, newsletter related. So if you have any questions, drop them in now, and we'll kind of go through the chats across the different platforms that we're streaming on and pick a few. So you can do that now if you have any questions. We'll just kind of wait on you guys to drop in a question or submit any kind of feedback for us that you want us to address in this Q&A section of our live. So, go ahead.
While you're doing that, I'll talk about, again, just the importance of audience ownership and the difference between what we refer to as a rented audience and an owned audience. So rented audiences are those who like follow you on social media mainly, where you don't actually know their name, you don't have their email address, and you don't have a way to contact them outside of that social media platform. And even so, you're relying on that particular algorithm of the day of that platform to deliver your content to your followers, those who have raised their hand and said, hey, I want to see this content. And as y'all know, TikTok is notorious for not showing content to people who have followed you, which is so unbelievably annoying. Instagram, not so much. But in any case, you are sort of leaving the fate of your followership that you have spent years or months building to that social media platform, ultimately owned by, one of the richest people in the world, or having influence from the Chinese government potentially with TikTok. I mean, that's a whole thing that we've talked about ad nauseum, but it's really, really risky. And if you're trying to build a business, you cannot leave the fate of your business and your lead source up to social media platforms. So this whole concept of owning your audience is simply going from a rented audience to having this list of email subscribers where you have true ownership and permission-based access, again, for that very valuable real estate in these people's inboxes. And that's the way you're going to be able to reach beyond things like brand deals and affiliate deals in your business. And so we want to help you get to selling not only digital products, but recurring revenue digital products. And you very scarcely can go from social media audience to membership community, mastermind, high ticket group coaching, paid newsletter, and things like that. So there's like this middle element in an automated sales funnel that is all about emails. So I want to be very clear, email is not dead at all. Email is the most powerful digital channel for you to make sales on, period. So that's my spiel on that.
Okay, so first question we have, Justin wants to know, how often should I be promoting my email list on my social media?
Yeah, great question, Justin. So I would say, depending on how many platforms, you should promote it probably 3 times a week, but always lead with value. Like, you don't want to say just sign up for my newsletter, sign up for my newsletter, sign up for my newsletter. But like Erin was saying earlier, the Justin Welsh strategy would be to tease out the newsletter the day before with some value, right? And so lead with, hey, get a sneak peek kind of a situation on the top 3 points of the newsletter, and then the day of, that's more of like a CTA, just hey, you should sign up kind of a situation. And then the day after, like Erin was saying, you should be inciting some FOMO. Like, hey, you just missed like the most amazing content ever. It's exclusively there on my newsletter. Sign up so you can view the one, the archives, and get all the future ones. And then in terms of like content repurposing, you can definitely, you could make all of your social media posts probably from your newsletter. There's so many ways to like slice and dice content in order to maximize it. But at least one other time a week, you're going to want to drop some content from your newsletter with, call it like a light CTA on, hey, make sure you join kind of a thing. But that's very much secondary to the value that you're putting first.
Yeah, that's really good. Okay, so Maria wants to know, she said, I don't have a huge social media following yet. Should I still promote my newsletter, and how should I do that?
I would say emphatically yes. It is becoming a trend, especially like for my generation, elder millennials and Gen Xers, to just kind of like forego the social media step and go straight to newsletter. And our newsletter list is actually exponentially larger than our combined social media following. And so that's a really important point of emphasis. Like, yes, we're doing social media. We're on social media right now, but what we want is people to get right to our email list, because that's where we're able to solve the most problems, provide the most value, and get the most direct and guaranteed access to them, or at least the opportunity to access, right? Obviously they have to open the email, but like that's our marketing strategy, right? We don't need, or we need far fewer social media, most top of funnel sources if we can get folks from other newsletters, from podcasts, straight to our email list. And so I would say, don't wait to build your social media following. Just go straight for the newsletter and get people into that email service provider ecosystem so they can hear from you regularly, and build the 2 top of funnel sources sort of like in tandem, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's great. Alana wants to know, what kind of exclusive content can I put in my newsletter to entice people to sign up?
That totally depends on, again, like whatever your accounts are built around in your area of subject matter expertise. But the meat and potatoes of your newsletter, if you will, should be exclusive. That content should not be available elsewhere, e.g., on social media or podcasts. You really should keep it exclusive and then keep to your word on that. Like, don't get so desperate for content that you start, digging into stuff that really should only be on the email newsletter, unless you're going way back into the archives of your email newsletter and doing a little bit of content recycling. That's fine, but something compelling and exclusive, specific to your niche.
Yeah. That's really good. I feel like we covered so many broad ranges of strategy and promotion that we could probably do a whole nother deep dive on this. So if you guys have any more questions after we end this live stream, we'll go back through the comments and the chats and make sure we don't miss anything. You can also DM us personally. We'll get all of those. Something else you can do, I'm going to drop it in the chat, is you can follow Amanda on Instagram too. She drops all kinds of really great wisdom and nuggets and stuff on Instagram, so you don't want to miss that either. And also, if you missed our first live, go back and watch it, because there's so much more in there that we didn't mention in this one that has to do with starting your newsletter or email list. And hit that link and go to that free resource that we mentioned on how to build your email list. It's literally like a step-by-step. You will not be left in the dark. It has so much in there for you. So please go to that link and see if you're truly interested on building a newsletter or email list. We cannot stress enough how much value that is in that, and how many tools and just different tricks and things that you can do to really capture your audience in your email list. So cool. Thanks for joining us this week. We'll be live next week, so you don't want to miss that either. I hope that you guys have a great weekend. Bye. It's been so fun. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Ending it across all the platforms.